What is going on, everybody? I got nothing. We're this is the therapy session. Wisconsin, Minnesota, screw it all. Let's hash it out. Let's hash it out. Nothing more we can do. On Wisconsin.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. As always, good or bad, your team. Every day I'm here for you. We're here for it together. That's that. I don't even know where to start with this one, y'all. I'm going to be honest. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to bring Rajiv in. I think Justin is joining at some point. I think Scott's joining at some point. I got a bunch of comments to get to. Here's Rajiv. I don't even know where to start, man. Where do you even want to start?
First and goal at the 5.
Let's start there.
We were playing from the 30. You cannot be serious. I mean, that has to be a record, right? Of the most false starts in a row in the history of college football. What the hell was that? I mean, wait, what? I was literally about to just talk about how I thought Chase Wolf looked great. I mean, it was like, all right, he's not afraid to throw the ball. He's thrown it in tight spots. And then all of a sudden that happens. And it's just, what a debacle, man. I mean, is
there a worse way to lose, by the way, than to be given some type of ridiculous hope? Like the backup quarterback comes in and he drives you down the field, and then they just snatch it from you with sheer ineptitude, right?
Also, also for Chase Wolf, you got to throw it into the end zone. You can't throw it over the end zone. Like, you got to at least give someone a chance to catch the ball in the last couple of plays. I mean, someone's got to have a chance.
No, that was a terrible sequence. He didn't give anybody a chance. And here's what it boils down to for me. I saw people in the chat, and listen, we're all frustrated, but people were lighting up the O-line for that sequence. And obviously, you had the hold with Malman. That's where it started, right? Yeah. To be fair. But the rest of that's a Chase Wolf thing. Like, there were no false start penalties with Mertz, right? For whatever reason, the cadence was off. They weren't getting plays in. But you know what that really is? I just said that's a Chase Wolf thing. That's really a coaching thing. Yeah. If your backup quarterback can't come in a game and him and the offense line get on the same page, like, I'm sorry, that's a coaching thing. Like, that's unacceptable at major Division I football.
Yeah, like, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, honestly, it's literally laughable. I mean, to see what was happening at the end. I mean, we get the pass interference call, which, by the way, what a great pass that was to Bell. Had there not been interference, he could have caught that. That would have been an amazing, amazing touchdown. I mean,
well, here's
it's horrible.
No, it's just terrible coaching. Like, if your backup quarterback can't come in and at least him and the offensive line get on the same snap count, like, I'm sorry, that's on the coaching staff, that's on the offensive staff, and I think we're all ready to. I won't speak for anybody else. I'm ready to see a brand new offensive staff, but I've already.
I'm going to be clear on here. I'm ready for the entire offensive staff to go, and that includes Bostad at this point. We've seen too many undisciplined offensive line plays this year that have set this offense back. I expect I can get it that they're not perfect with the scheme, but the constant penalties with this offensive line, that's just, it can't happen. Like, it's been all season long.
I actually thought that pass protection was really good today. Like, I really thought they were really good today.
Well, if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter.
I actually wrote down earlier that I thought I was going to come on here and say I thought the O-line actually had another decent game. They protected well. It was on Mertz early, and I mean, for most of that game, we ran the ball okay. I don't know what our final tally was as far as yards per carry, but I think we were over 4 at one point. I don't know where we ended up because I don't have it in front of me, but I mean, I thought Malusi had a good game. I thought Gredo had some runs. I thought the O-line actually did okay. I'm going to disagree a little bit. I actually believe that Bostad is the only coach that I would be okay with keeping. And I know that's not a popular opinion right now, given what we just saw at the end of the game, but Bostad has been a proven coach for this program for a long time. And I'm okay with seeing him stay. I absolutely want the rest of the offensive staff out, but Bostad is the guy that I would actually keep.
I wouldn't fight you on it. I'm just saying that like they have not been a strong part of this team this year. Like you want to have a position that you can at least lean on and say, hey, they perform pretty well. And the entire offensive side of the ball, this is why I said the other day, it feels like the offensive culture is just broken. Like they just have no confidence. They're not successful. We're going to finish probably around 80th in the country in scoring. Like, they're just terrible. Like, our offensive side of the football is just awful. And with a defense that constantly gets you the ball back.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you be this bad?
It's so bad. It's so bad. So we talked, listen, we're going to have a bunch more shows on who's staying, who's going. As hard as it is, I want to keep it kind of mostly on this, although I think we're going to touch on Jim Leonhard too. But what else? Just like fire away, man. What? And Roll Bucky, I see you in the queue. I'm going to get you on here too. I've been trying to go away from keeping more people in the queue. But Roll Bucky, you were in here from the jump, so we're going to get you on here as well. But like, what else really just takes you off here? Anybody go?
Well, you're in a late moment situation where the chance to win the game, and Graham Mertz proves just exactly why he is not the quarterback for Wisconsin. There was an absolutely horrible pass that he overthrows his receiver on, and multiple other opportunities in this game where he just misses receivers. And it's like, you are just terrible under pressure. Like some guys just can't handle it, and you clearly are one. Stick to 7-on-7. That is your ceiling. Like you peaked in high school, kid. I'm sorry.
Well, let's talk Mertz then. Yeah, let's keep it on Mertz because I think Justin, that's a great point. Rajiv, I'm going to kick it to you next. But from like this whole game felt like Mertz wasn't. There was that last interception was atrocious. He had a guy running open. It was atrocious. But he also missed a wide open throw to Eschenbach in the red zone. That's a touchdown. Yeah. That's leaving points on the field.
That one was killer. It was killer. I mean, you know what? 3 and outs in a row. We had plenty of opportunities to take over this game. Our defense once again came through when it mattered. I know that the defense gave up, a lot of slant plays. I know Justin will surely have some opinions on that, but I do. Look, I think the defense did fine. We did exactly what we needed to do. They gave the offense the ball back with many opportunities, and Mertz just screwed it up. I mean, it's just here's where I am on Mertz. Is he a talented recruit that came into the program? Yes. Could he be good at this program? I still do believe yes. Is he going to be our quarterback next year? I really don't know. Here's what I would say is this. If he is our quarterback next year with a new offensive staff, am I okay with it? Yes. But do I want someone better? Yes. So I'm to the point where it's like, if something better comes along, great. But if this is what we're going to end up with, as long as we have an entirely new offensive staff, I think maybe he can still be okay. And I'm still not ready to just throw in the towel on him because I do believe he has talent. I know that I'm sure people are going to disagree with me there. I'm just saying, like, with a new offensive staff, maybe he can be okay. But if someone comes through the transfer portal, I'm fine with it. Let's go. Let's get someone else in. That's
fine.
Fine.
Definitely disagreeing with you in the comment.
I know.
I don't trust him at all. He is absolutely horrible anytime he gets any type of pressure on him. And that's just, in-game stress. If things are not running perfectly for him, he folds. Like, he is like a card table with 2 broken legs. He just is instantly down. It's just, normally you don't see this until the NFL. I know, but I mean, my view on this is this. If Mertz is our quarterback starting next year, it's a failure. Like, we are not doing what's in the best interest of this football team to achieve the ceiling that we'd like to reach.
So, I agree, but can I just really quickly point out, like, we don't have anybody in the recruiting. Like, the pipeline is dry right now, and it's hard to get an impact transfer quarterback because the impact ones go to schools that pay a lot of money. Like,
and that's part of what my thought is. It's like, if we could very well end up with him, and it's like that's not that we're going to have to accept that.
Then we need to deal with the fact we're going to be 7-5 at best.
No, what I'm saying is, I think we all want better quarterback play. I'm just saying, like, those options are tough when we haven't recruited the position well, and we're not going to get the elite transfer quarterbacks. We're just not. Those dudes go to USC. We've seen it. All right, coming up, guys, we have a bunch of stuff. I still want to get Roll Bucky on, a bunch of comments. We're all fired up and upset. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to spice up your college football fantasy weekend. Cold hard cash after a single game. Parlay your 2 to 5 players in a single parlay. Basketball, football, you can mix it up between different teams and sports. Wouldn't have been a good day to take Graham Mertz, I'll tell you that. but you can mix it up between different teams and sports. Mike in the Discord does it all the time. Easy to play in over 30 states, and it's one of the easiest fantasy games, again, to get cold hard cash after a single day. Sign up with the promo code Locked On. That's one word. Underdog will double your fantasy deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, get $100 for free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store, Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Locked On. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. And we're bringing everybody back in. We get Roll Bucky in here. We're going to take comments. I'm just ticked off. Roll Bucky, man, you're on the show. You're muted right now, but if you want to jump in, let me know. And then, yeah, there you go, man. What's going on, my friend?
Just looking through the box score, trying to find some positives, but there aren't any.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let us know when you find one.
No, I mean, yeah, it's tough.
It was yesterday looking at the basketball box score and seeing Connor Esigian with 12 points.
Can we just talk about Esigian instead? I mean,
yeah, please.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's like the optimism of the week. But yeah, it's just tough. And I think, I don't know, like Justin, you said, like, if we get rid of the entire offensive staff, my hot take is I would love Bosted back at inside linebacker coach. I think there's obviously the fallout from Chanel and Sanborn, but technique-wise, I just think we're missing, eating pulling guards, dealing with the flow to the ball and stuff like that on those outside zone runs. But other than that, I guess my other thought is, sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to say, let me give a little insight on that. There is one thing I will say with this. I don't think that he loves the offensive line room that he got. I don't think he likes it. There's something when it comes to offensive linemen, it's a position where a lot of the guys who are highly rated are normally guys who developed early and have the weight on them already. So the athleticism's there. So there's less projection that's going on, which is why they have high star counts normally. Now, Bosted is not necessarily a guy who's going to go out there and his recruit board is going to look like a bunch of 4-stars. But he's going to have a bunch of guys that are going to go out there and absolutely try to kill people when he puts them out there. Like, he gets the absolute maniacs. That's the one thing I will say is that I think with regards to him, I think he's actually better suited for recruiting the offensive line than I would want him at linebacker. And I think you can actually hide kind of a stud recruiter at inside linebacker. Like that's ideally what I would like to see them find, would be somebody who's young, has a lot of energy, and has a positive recruiting influence on the staff.
Yeah, and you actually just hit my second point too. A question for all you guys is, do you think the way Rudolph recruited, we went heavy for offensive tackles, guys who are bigger, do you think we should have gone with more like the James Durand instead of having people bump in to play guard who maybe shouldn't be playing guard?
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said. Anytime you're going to face a smaller defensive line or shorter defensive line, you're going to struggle to get under those guys. It helps having the guys who are 2-3 inches shorter that are just better built to take that on.
But again, I would say I don't think the offensive line was the issue today. I mean, it
wasn't.
But I don't think, and Roll Bucky, man, I really appreciate it. It's really good insight, especially with Bosted moving on, because that's something we're going to hit on. I'm going to let you go just because we got a bunch of comments we're going to get to, man. But I really do appreciate the comments and the insight.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, of course. Again, I thought the offensive line was fine. It was good enough to win. It was other issues, play calling, quarterback sliding on third, not getting first down. Like, can we?
Where's the awareness?
Where's
the awareness of where you are on the field to understand that you just get past line? And you know what? You're playing football. I understand you got to protect yourself, but you're playing football.
Yeah.
Get the first down.
We're playing
football.
in
you have pads on. Let's go.
In our biggest game of the year, effectively. And honestly, what I want to see out of a player in that situation is you're going to have to tackle me if I'm going to go down. I want to see you take every yard they're going to give you in that situation.
Last game of the year, he acts on the line. You're playing at home. They took it to you last year. And even the Mertz one, they're both bad. But the Chase Wolf one, for gosh sake, you're a backup quarterback in the biggest moment of your life. Mm-hmm. Dive forward. I'm sorry. Like Mertz, you can at least say it was earlier in the game. He's trying not to get popped. And they're drilled to do this, by the way. Quarterbacks are drilled to slide. Chase Wolf? Dude. Oh.
All right, I want to jump to defense a little bit because
let's do it. Let's jump to defense.
Why are we not playing hard inside leverage on Minnesota? They never throw anything to the outside ever.
So I disagree with you. Actually, I have a take on that.
They have
an option route. Yeah, they throw it to 5 a lot on the outside. I think if you inside leverage them, they just throw to the outside.
Then that's fine. I'd rather have them. That's a tougher throw to make than throwing a slant route.
They kind of ate us up on that too, though. Like I thought our defensive backs. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. We're all frustrated. I think our defensive backs just play so soft that they could do either. I thought they could get whatever they wanted essentially, as long as their quarterback had time.
Yeah.
I would like to say, we've had a lot of negativity on the show, rightfully so.
Thank you.
But let's just take a second to talk about a guy that we're not going to see anymore other than the bowl game, Keanu Benton. Once again, Mo Ibrahim had less than 100 yards for the first time in, I think, his entire career.
Yeah, that's our silver lining.
Like let's just take a second to remember that guy and what the defensive line did today. I mean, that Keanu Benton, and I've said this so many times, he is an absolute machine. We are going to miss him so much next year.
Yeah.
He deserves a lot of credit for what this defense has been able to do. And our defense, at the end of the day, gave the ball back to our offense multiple times, up 3. It's unacceptable that we didn't score any more points. And, there are some parts of this team that are really, really good and deserve a few minutes of us saying, kudos to those guys. And he's one of those guys. And it's absolutely incredible. The things he does, the amount of push he gets in the D-line, the amount of time that the linebackers can get in and do their job because of what he does is incredible. I mean, we really shut him down today. And that is the hardest running back in the Big Ten to shut down. And we did a great job. Now, the first half, I think they had a lot of those RPOs out to the left that for some reason we couldn't tackle. But we did an admirable job against the run. And we have to just point that out. I want to point that out, at least to have some positivity on the show, because it's for the rest of it's going to be pretty negative.
That's really well said. Benton was a monster today. He's been a monster all year. He's a warrior, 4-year contributor, going to go play in the NFL. That's very well said. Justin's not ready to have any happiness.
He definitely is. I look at it. He's probably at worst. I think he's going to show out at the Senior Bowl. I think he's going to improve his draft stock dramatically. And I think that I would not shock me to see him be a 2nd-round pick.
No.
I think somebody's going to look at it for that type of pass rush from the interior and a guy that has that kind of motor. People are going to love him.
We have a bunch of comments, by the way, echoing those thoughts. So I'm not going to hit all of them because a lot of comments hit on the same type of themes, but just a couple of them really quick. Ryan E says, yeah, we'll miss Keanu. Dude truly cared and balled out. Uncultured Barbarian. Benton will succeed on Sundays. Badgerman C, Keanu and Nick, the last of the real Badgers. So lots of comments in the Benton section. Agreed. Very well said. I want to shift it to here a little bit. Play calling. Thoughts?
Well, so first of all, I thought that there were a couple glimpses of things that I liked. Seeing some play action on first down. I think I put it in the Discord or chat or something. I thought it was okay at times. But then there were other parts of the game where we just went right back to jumbo package running, which frankly just drives me nuts. I just, you know what? I understand we have to have that piece of our game, but spread it out a little bit. It's okay to run when you don't have your entire jumbo package in. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Or if you are going to have a jumbo package in, it's okay to have a little play action. Do something different. And I thought the reverse on the touchdown, great play call. Absolutely loved it. I think, that's the kind of stuff that we need to see more. Again, another game of no jet sweep. I don't know where that just went. It just has disappeared out of the playbook and someone just threw the page away. Ridiculous. So couple positives here and there, but a lot more negatives. I'm done with Bobby Ingram. Yeah. I think we can all agree on that. I just feel like it's time to go to a new direction. It's time to do something different. I was more impressed with Minnesota's play calling than I was with our own, and that's ridiculous. And I just feel like, we have to be better. We have the play calls in our book. I know they're there. Pull them up and call them.
I would honestly, if you're giving them the job, make a contingent on that being a change. To be quite frank, this is not. You have to have a side of the ball. You have to look at the offensive side of the ball like we do our defensive side. We have to look at it and say, hey, if our defense doesn't have its best day, that your offense can go out there and win you the game. And this. We called it in the beginning of this game. I said it early on. I said, does anyone else feel like there's a chance that Mertz can win us this game? Because I sure as heck don't.
I did, because I'm an optimist. I was in the Discord.
I don't trust him to throw on a good defense to save his life. He's never had a good game against a good defense.
That's fair. All right, we got to take one more quick break, and then we're going to get to a bunch of comments. Yeah, we have a bunch of people in the queue. I appreciate everybody tuning into therapy session. This is just the spot where it's nothing scripted, and we can just talk about what's really ticking us off as Badger fans, and we'll do it together. That's what it's all about. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Upside. Now, Upside is something that's helped a lot of people, thousands of people, combat inflation, which has hit all of us, right? Everything's more expensive. Everything costs more: gas, food, going out to eat, going to the movie theater, etc. It's all more expensive. Upside is the best app to help combat some of that inflation. It's what I use. I use it to help buy some of this Badger swag behind me, which now I might turn around and hide for a while because it doesn't deserve to be prominently displayed. I'm sorry, I'm salty. This is an ad read. To get started, download the free Upside app. Use my promo code LOCK to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. You can do a lot of things with this money back. Use it to help offset inflation. Use it to get some cool new stuff. And it's kind of like a credit card loyalty program where you check in at a place and you get free points and free money back. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week. That's why it has a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. Call to action. Download the free Upside app. Use promo code LOCK to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED. And again, I just appreciate everybody tuning in, joining us for the therapy sessions for all year, right? Like this is the last football one of the year. And I appreciate everybody that's tuned in with us, all the regular guests and all the people who have made comments. I want to show, before we get going, I want to show you all something. And if you're listening on a podcast, I apologize. I did tease that we'd do something fun today because I anticipated us winning. So I went out and I bought this expensive replica axe, right? And I had this whole moment planned out in my head. So if you're listening on the podcast, I had this Paul Bunyan trophy axe. I was going to break it out on the show. I was going to go chop down my chimney back here, just like a senior. And then it was going to go on my wall and it'd be like a trophy case and we'd have it there all year. Now it doesn't go up. It goes in a cabinet until we maybe win next year. That's it. All right, let's get into Jim Leonhard because I do want to talk about, and 19th Warrior came up with it as well, talk about JL. And that's something I want to kick to you guys. Does this, in the big picture with Jim Leonhard, obviously the decision is not final, even though we all kind of know it's been made, but does this taint the waters?
Well, this is what I was talking about early on when we were talking about him taking over, is that ultimately the offense does fall on his head too. So you can't just shove it into Bobby's lap and say like, "Hey, I'm taking care of the defense and doing this." This is your chance to shine, and he let you down. So you need to make a thoroughly aggressive move on this to find a guy who you believe in that can get the offensive side of the ball at least competent. Like what we saw there in the end of the game proves to you just how disorganized and how messed up things are. Like anytime we have to go with any kind of tempo, the offense just falls apart. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Like there are teams that run their entire offense based off of that. Like, what the heck? Why is it like watching a bunch of kindergartners go out there and get lined up for flag football when we have to go with any type of pace at all?
I think the optics, the look of this is obviously got. I mean, it would have been really nice to say, "Oh, we finished the year 7-5. We have the X. Here you go, Jim Leonhard. Here's the job." But that's changed. I don't really know when that announcement's going to be made. I still think it'll be made before, December 5th when the transfer portal opens up. But I still think he's going to get the job. I don't think that's going to change. But I do think that now more than ever, like Justin said, the offensive hire is going to be absolutely critical, and that's what we want to hear. We've been waiting the entire year to kind of hear like what his vision is, what his thoughts are on it, because the offense is still on him now. He's the head coach, and I think he's going to be the head coach. So the optics are changed though. I mean, this is just a different thing now. When losing the axe is not a good way to be able to come out and say, okay, here's the job, Jim. So it'll be interesting to see when that actually happens. If it happens, I mean, I guess there's a chance that he doesn't get the job. I still don't believe that's at all a possibility. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, it highlights now more than ever that this is his first job is going to be to fix this offense and hire someone else. to bring in a new offensive scheme, a new strategy. And if he does that, then I think we can get things started on the right foot next year. Hopefully he does.
So I kind of have a perspective here, and I'm curious where you guys are with him getting the opportunity for next year. What do you think the fan base's expectations are going to be headed into next year with a fairly weak schedule?
Yeah.
Because they're going to expect him to have a significant jump forward from what we showed this year. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I think 9 wins should be the floor based off of that schedule. So if we don't hit that, then that's a failure on my opinion. But there is
I'm going to say
on this team. So to me, it's like
you can't set 9 wins at the floor. I mean, listen, you can. I don't want to speak for you. That's wrong for you. What I'm saying is I can't set 9 wins as a floor for a team that is going to be remaking an entire side of the ball that for 3 years has underperformed. I think the talent on this team is actually overrated. I think the recruiting department has had too many misses. The offense is a mess. The offensive line hasn't developed. Braylon Allen gets hurt a lot. So, no, I don't think even with a bad schedule, 9 wins. This year wasn't a tough schedule overall.
I don't disagree
and we struggled to make a bowl game. So, no, to me, 9 wins with a first-time head coach, whether it's Leonhard or anyone else, that's not.
But looking at this season, what we just saw this year, that if we see him have a year like we just had, we would view that as a huge failure.
Oh, Dragon says, "Is you crazy?"
Look, I would say this. I think that I think that 9 wins is a bit of a high sort of floor. But look, we have to remember we're not a good team right now. We're 6-6.
No, we're not.
That's not
There's
a
lot of little things that are controllable.
Right.
That
but
need to be fixed.
I agree. There are things that can be fixed, but I think so much depends on this coaching staff, right? I mean, I think once the coaching staff's in place and we kind of get a sense of what's going to happen, then I think we can get a sense of this. But look, he said he needs to change the entire culture of the program. He needs to focus on player development. He needs to make big changes. That's probably going to take a little bit of time. And I don't expect it to be 10 wins next year or he's a failure. I don't agree with that, but I do want to see progress. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, look, it's the last year of the West next year. It's the last year we're going to have that kind of a schedule before the guys out West come in and the entire system changes. So yeah, it would be great to be able to finish off the West with a victory and to win it next year. But I just, for me, I want to see us make progress back into the direction of where we have been recently and where we need to be again. This year, 6-6 is the absolute worst thing I ever want to see again. And I would hope that we get back to 8 wins, 9 wins next year, but we need to see progress. And we'll see that progress because we'll see things like the coaching. We'll see things like the offensive play calling and the schemes. We'll know if progress has been made. I don't think it necessarily has a win total, but I want to see progress.
I'll settle for an offensive staff that thinks that getting more than, or that 27 points a game or whatever we ended up with this year is acceptable, because that's a joke.
This has to be the nail in Bobby Ingram's
coffin,
right? There's been a lot of discussions online about, and these are fair discussions, I think, right? How fair is it to Bobby Ingram to win with players and inheriting some of Paul Chryst' playbook and not having an offseason? I think all that's fair. I also don't think it matters anymore. Like, you have to get somebody in who's proven he can do it. Like, it just doesn't. I'm sorry, it isn't unfair to. It's not really fair to Ingram. Ingram also made $1 million this year. Ingram's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my point with the whole thing is I don't care how much your hands were tied when you initially got it. You've had 7 weeks to kind of get your legs under you and find things that work that allow you to be successful. You didn't do it. You just didn't.
It's a good question here from Mark D. Pinging off Rajiv's comment. So I'll kick it to Justin and Rajiv follow up on it because it was your comment. But what do you consider progress, though, Justin? Let's say the 9-win floor, just hypothetically, is a little high. Yeah. What do you need to see next year?
I need to see an offense that can actually make up for the defense a little bit. If the defense gives up 25 points in a game, I want to see the offense be able to go out there and score 35. If we can't do that, then to me, we're not making progress. But you watch some of these teams, like, I know people didn't love the Leipold comparisons and stuff like that. He has a Kansas team that has less talent than what we have, and he's got them scoring in the mid-30s. Like, and that's in a major division with bad talent. So there's no reason why Wisconsin can't get to that level. Like, I'm not saying we need to get to 35, but we need to at least be in the low to mid-30s.
And what I would say is, one, recruiting. I want to see a more of attention and focus on recruiting, build out that recruiting department a little bit more and make some progress there. And then, offensively, I mean, we've been seeing it for too long now. The Paul Christ offense just died, fell off a cliff. So we need to see, I want to see a full scheme change. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, an offensive we need to evolve our offense again, and we need to change it to something different. If progress to me isn't necessarily going to come down to the win total, it's going to come down to what we're seeing offensively. For me, offensively, the scheme, the play calling, and then what positive changes has he made in the recruiting department?
Yeah, the recruiting to me is huge. Like every hire, and by the way, that's another thing. We have a bunch of comments in over here, so I'm not going to be able to get to every comment, guys. And a lot of it, again, is because we have multitudes of comments that kind of say the same thing with different fonts, right? But every hire, every decision needs to be made with some idea of recruiting going forward. And it feels like for a long time, this program has really backburnered that. Like coaches are brought in because this has familiarity with them. We don't need a recruiting staff. NIL is going to be lagging behind everything. We'll hire this last second guy, even though he's never recruited in college. Like it has to be such a tremendous new focus going forward that hires need to be geared towards it.
Right? They need a progressive mindset in the program. They just have to look at the future, try to future-proof things.
Bad recruiting. Yeah, we got a bunch of comments like Pierre Forcell, a bunch of them just dealing with recruiting. Gold Digger 65, going back to what we talked about, how do you shine with Chris players on offense? Again, I do think Ingram could have done more. I think we've all said that.
We have talent on offense. I'm not saying it's great, but we have way better talent than what our numbers produce.
If you have a quarterback that could actually get the ball to the receivers when they are open, that makes a major difference. Like if we hit on the throws that should have been made in this game, we probably scored 30 points. And we're not talking about making, these incredible diving and leaping catches. We're talking about just hitting the easy throws that are there.
This was an interesting comment. Tom Nieses asked this a couple weeks ago, and I actually just forgot it in my brain. I meant to bring it up, so I apologize for that, Tom. He's listened to the show for a long time too, so we really appreciate it. Do we want a bowl game with this offensive staff? Should we decline the Motor City Bowl and start building the staff now and recruit? What do you guys think about?
I don't think we get the practices then. If we
I think that's what he's saying. Are the practices more important than
yes, especially if you're looking at potentially getting Burkett ready for next year. Like I know it may not be the offense that he's running going into next season, but he badly needs live reps against college level athletes. It's not going to hurt him going against the first team defense on a daily basis for 15 practices. Which honestly, I probably would start him in the bowl game. Get the opportunity. It's a good way to kind of get him ready for next year. What do you have to lose?
That would be an interesting story to see. I mean, listen, I'd be for it too. You have nothing to lose. Yeah, I want the bowl game. I want the bowl game because it's something that Wisconsin fans get to enjoy every year, and
the seniors deserve it.
Yeah,
like it's their last game ever.
I want to see Keanu Benton play one more time because I love watching that guy play, and there's a lot of people that deserve it. So yeah, I agree.
I think it's a Minnesota fan. Go back to your roots of great offensive line and elite running game working for us. Listen, it's not really working for y'all. All right.
You're 7-5 or 8-5. No, we're not good.
Like you haven't won the West. Like get out of here with this nonsense. It's working for you. Like we need to go back and emulate something you're doing. Give me a friggin' break.
The Big Ten West is a joke.
Sorry, I just had to I felt I shouldn't have done it. Like it was actually a kind of a respect. Oh, he's a Michigan fan. I'm sorry. I just felt like I'm loading on somebody. I apologize.
You guys moved on from that elite offensive line play and running game and moved on to a more wide open offense, and it's put you in the playoffs.
You evolved. Michigan evolved. Right.
I need to pause because I need to apologize for that. I thought he was a Minnesota fan. Great win for y'all today.
That being said, Ryan, Minnesota fans are probably listening to this, and Minnesota fans are probably getting a lot of joy out of this right now, and that's fine. You got the axe. That's great. But
congrats, you beat one of our worst teams in the last 25 years.
Exactly. Like we still have 15 in a row on you, and we've still won the West countless times, and you haven't. So
yeah. He very clearly has the Michigan logo on too. I'm just like really wanted to vent on a Minnesota fan. Jordan Love Harris says Burkett will not be the starter next year. Sorry. I don't know if that means a transfer. If he's betting on a transfer or Mertz, it's going to be one of those two. If it's not Burkett,
there very well could be a transfer. I have no doubt about that. I think if we don't get a transfer, something's wrong. There are plenty of MAC level quarterbacks that we can go after that have had good years that clearly would be an upgrade over him.
clearly we should be focusing a lot of energy in the transfer portal on getting another quarterback. I think we can all agree that every single Badger fan in the world
for
can
depth,
agree
if anything, because if Wolf came up for senior day, that means that he's gone. And it's not that he would have been a reliable backup anyways, but you have to fill in somebody there just in case Burkett's not ready.
Yeah, and a bunch more comments like this. I want to take one variation of this one because I don't know if we've really asked it like this. Leonhard should have taken advantage of the opportunity. I wanted to frame it like this. Didn't he? He got the Badgers bowl eligible when a lot of us thought they wouldn't even get there. I'm just curious your take on that.
I disagree with this comment saying that it was his game, but he hasn't shown it he's ready. We don't know that he's going to be a great coach. Yes, we don't know that. But what I saw and what we've said a couple times on the show is we saw energy change. We saw changes in the program that we thought were positive. I do not think we would have been bowl eligible if Paul Chryst was the coach all season. I definitely do not believe we would have. But I personally have been someone who has been a proponent of Jim Leonhard getting this job throughout this entire season, and I will continue to be. I believe that he can take this program to a different level. He wasn't going to do that in this season. His goal was to come in, get bowl eligible, get as many wins as he could. And frankly, I mean, if it wasn't for an overtime fumble, I mean, he could have beat Michigan State. He could have been 5-2. And it's not like we were that far off in the games that he coached. I will, even if people disagree with me, I will tell you, I'm a believer in Jim Leonhard. I want Jim Leonhard to be the coach. I had said that. And I do believe that he will take us to a different level. I could be crazy. I could be wrong. Maybe I just call me an optimist, but that's where I'm at with Jim Leonhard. I still want him to be our coach, and I'm still okay with it.
I don't think you're wrong. He's on the lower end of what I was hoping for with him taking this opportunity. And maybe I was being a homer and thought we had more talent than we do, which it could very well be. I was hoping that he would get us to like 5-2, 6-1 with the time that he had. Do I think that he would be a failure? No. What I think we do have is we have a lot of questions with him yet, where we have to look at this and say, listen, there's a couple of things going into this. I think you clearly have to put in a good offensive staff heading into next year, and it can't be the same old. You have to find a way to make this offense more explosive and not be so reliant on 15 play drives just to get in the end zone. Because why? When you play a really good defense, they're really good at throwing a wrench in a 15 play drive. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to get more explosive. You have to become more progressive with your play calling. You also have to acknowledge that you can't hand that side of the ball off. It is your responsibility, whatever happens there. So that means making tough decisions against the coaching staff in general here. If there's a position that he's not totally set on, the guy and the way they perform this year, get rid of them. Put in there what you want. This is your opportunity to make Wisconsin football what you want it to be. And maybe who knows what that is.
And I think what this comment says, I was hoping Leonhard would take advantage of this opportunity. I think now is the opportunity. So this offseason is where, Justin just said it right. This is where I want to see when we start the season next year. I feel like at that point, we're going to know if he's going to take advantage of this opportunity or if he's just going to be, another Paul Chryst type person, but I don't think he will.
His hands were very tied with what he being in season, trying to make major changes.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm mostly on your side. Not that you guys are even disagreeing really that much, but I'm mostly on board here, Rajiv, with kind of everything you're saying. I think he mostly took advantage of the opportunity to the ability that he could have within a season. I think people are underestimating that the dude was still coordinating the defense. Like he was having to answer questions about the locker room. In his bye week, he wasn't just game planning for the next week. He was selling Chris McIntosh on his vision. Like there's so much more on his plate this year than just be head coach, right? And I think we maybe underestimated some of that, or maybe I did. Again, I don't mean to speak for everybody else. I want to do a couple rapid fire comments here because we're starting to run a little long, which I expected. There's a lot of people that are frustrated. A lot of comments that are just along the lines of this stinks. This is terrible. I hate life. Variations of that. So we all get you there. Let's take a couple of these, maybe a little more rapid fire. Chris Hartz, who's in the Discord, always a great friend of the show. Bosted can't fix motorless players. Maybe the offensive line isn't as good as we had hoped. I don't know. Sorry, rapid fire became nobody talking.
No, it could very well be. There hasn't been listen. Looking at the offensive line this year, there hasn't been a guy I've looked at and been like, that guy's a stud. None of them are. We have a lot of young guys who are hopeful about it, but none of them have looked like this guy's going to be a first round pick next year. Like they look like a lot more
Yeah,
of the same guys who we looked at. We're like, oh, he's going to be a 4th or 5th rounder. He'll maybe become a good pro.
Which goes back to recruiting, which goes back to the fact that we still need to get better in that area. And I think the O-line will be if Bostad stays, I think he will get that O-line back to the Bostad lines that we know.
This is something here, Badger Man C hit on this. We don't understand what tempo is offensively at any point of the game. We can be down 7, which we were, with 3.5 minutes left, which we were, with 2 timeouts in our back pocket, and we are taking 20 seconds off each play. You can't do that. You know what might be different on that last drive? If we had another 48 seconds and we didn't have to hurry and the offense line could have got settled down. You know how we could have gotten another 48 seconds if we didn't run 25 seconds off between each play when there's 3 minutes left. You're down, like, for Pete's sake.
It's as if we don't practice it. And heck, maybe we're not practicing it the way we need to. It's coaching. That element definitely comes back to coaching. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we've got to be better prepared for game time situations. Everything from clock management, which was an issue with Paul Christ, everything from this kind of, we've got to be prepared for situations, and we clearly are not.
Yeah, it's the
great comment.
Situational awareness is clearly an issue that Wisconsin football has had for most of the time that I've watched it. We just have they've never had there's no gas pedal with us. We put it in neutral and just roll down the hill. And we get there, either it's going to be a broken run play that's going to be explosive or nothing. But we never have any sense of like, hey, we need to get going here. Like, who's the best quarterback that we've had that run the 2-minute drill was Joel Stave.
It was Stave. I don't understand. That to me feels like such an elementary coaching thing. You can't afford to take this much time off now. Like, high school games would go into a hurry up. Like, it hurts my brain to see it because that's basic stuff. And here's where I take that a step further. You can't expect this offense to do next level stuff if they can't do basic things. And we can't even do basic things, right? And Zach Bartz has said, pinging back kind of what Rajiv was saying earlier, no one was going to change this mess in 6 to 7 games. Offseason will be telling for the direction of the program, which I think both you guys were saying on that. But I want to throw this up there because he also says, go get Sean Lewis for offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator is going to be the most important hire of this offseason because I think we all know Jim Leonhard's getting the job. That one's set, right? For the most part. Offensive coordinator is going to be the linchpin here.
I'll say this. We have no idea whether Sean Lewis would ever even be willing to go backwards and be an offensive coordinator again. So it'd be great if he's interested. I don't know if he is. I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that are, if we're going to throw $1.1 million at somebody who's never been an offensive coordinator before. Like that, I honestly think we need to be smarter with our money. Like, I feel like we gave a lot of these guys a lot of money and didn't see a lot of value that was added for it.
I'd agree there. I want to get to this comment quick and then kick it to you guys. Because I thought this was interesting. Sienna N says Minnesota runs the 5th most times in all of college football, but they let their freshman quarterback take deep shots against Wisconsin, throw against Wisconsin. It does feel like they went in on the road with a quarterback far less experienced than Mertz.
It was terrible before this game.
On the run game. That was terrible before the game. And they have him launching deep shots. Like, why is it so hard for Wisconsin to get those gears moving?
Again, it goes back to the play calling. It's just kind of like what, I mean, I was watching that game thinking, okay, Minnesota's taking shots. That's good for them. I mean, that's what I want to see us do. And we don't do that. And I don't know why we don't do that, but yeah, I mean, this is exactly right. And he looked great. I think Justin was saying at some point in our chat, we made him look like Tom Brady. I mean, it's just, he looked good for several of those drives. It's just, like, this is what I'm talking about. When we get an offensive coordinator, when we make changes, we need to see different play calling. We need to see shots. We need to see. This is not rocket science. We're fans. We're just fans. Every single fan is saying the same thing. This is not like we're not some football pundits. We're just fans who can see this like everyone else can. So why we're not making these changes as a program is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Well, Bo Dragon, the commenter, why is it okay for Minnesota to start a rookie, but we can't? Wisconsin is inherently conservative in general. They do not take risks with things like that because they're too afraid of the negative outcomes on it. Now, some of us have had a different mindset when it comes to that. Myself, definitely, being if you're going to have a defense that's a stud defense, you should be willing to take risks on the offensive side of the football because you actually have something you can lean back on if your defense, if they make a mistake. You get to work through the growing pains, and hopefully they're better for it. I don't agree with throwing somebody out there whose ceiling is lower simply because their floor is slightly higher and you're afraid of what the negative impacts may be rather than succeeding, I guess would be the way to look at it.
I get to the point though where we're not choosing between like high floor but terrible ceiling or scary ceiling, but we don't like, and the quarterback, everything is held back by the quarterback too. We've talked about mobility for quarterbacks a long time. It would be nice if Mertz could have picked up a couple first downs on the ground. There's just no dynamism. I can't even say that word. There's no dynamic playmaking from the quarterback, and it hasn't been there for a long time with this offense. We're gonna wrap it up. Like, I have a bunch of more comments. I didn't get to everything. Honestly, I hope everybody feels better with this. Just being able to talk it out, hash it out. I want to kick it around to Rajiv and Justin for sure. If there's any last thoughts, anything I didn't hit on, anything that we didn't touch on that is still just taking you off here. Or there's something's optimist. Sure. Rajiv, the optimist, which I love, by the way, because there are good things in this program. There really is.
There are.
Let me actually start. Then I'm going to kick it to you. I know I passed the talking baton and I just grabbed it back. I don't think this program is a burn it down and have to rebuild it from scratch. I think there's things there that still work at Wisconsin. I think there's talent on the roster. I think Jim Leonhard has a high ceiling. I wouldn't go into this offseason if you're a fan thinking you have to burn everything down. I don't think this is a total rebuild, I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't think from a culture standpoint, to an extent, I think it is a total rebuild. I think that at least on the offensive side of the ball, they need to find a way to change the attitude of what's acceptable on that side of the football. Nothing that we did was efficient or productive as it would be expected of a high level team. And it feels like we just let things slide over the last years and have slowly gone downhill with that side of the ball. And things need to be far stricter on that side of the football. And they need to find a way to be, we've seen this all season. Like, we get in a drive, things click for a couple of plays, and then we hit a wall and things go backwards because we make stupid mistakes or penalties or whatever that shouldn't be happening this late in the season. They need to find a way to clean that stuff up. And if the guys that they have there aren't good enough to do it, then you need to really hit the transfer portal hard and find guys that can at least do what you're asking them to do at an acceptable level.
I would say that as we look back on this season, as history looks back, I hope this is the bottom of where we ever get. 6-6. This is it. This is where, we need to take our next step and come back up to the top. When I look back at this season, again, the defense, once again, just has shown us that that's the strength of our program. The defense is not going to get any kind of credit they deserve because of the win total, because of what the offense has done. But this defense was a Big Ten West championship defense, no doubt. This defense was good enough to win the West. It was good enough to win the Big Ten. We just don't have the offense. And I agree with you, Ryan. It's not a total rebuild. I think I said on a previous show, I think we need to keep the parts of our program that work and we need to evolve the parts that don't. And what I mean by that is the defense is fine. Leave it alone. Let's go. Offense, we need a new scheme. We need new ideas. We need a new offensive coordinator who's not just going to have the same simplistic old Wisconsin football ideas. We have to be more creative, and it's time for that. I think we can all see that our offense is very antiquated and there's no reason to keep doing it. So let's make that change now. But the seniors that have played here for so many years, I think we owe them that. We've had some great seniors on this team, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. Keanu Benton is amazing. I hope he does well in the NFL next year. And I think we just have to look back on this and remember that we had a great defense, and let's keep that in mind, because they're getting overshadowed by this crap offense, and they've done a great job. So kudos to the defense for this year. And I will keep saying it again, because it's just, they deserve it.
Yeah, that's really well said. The defense for years now, right, has deserved it. So they were warriors. They battled out. Benson was great. I mean, this has just been a tough season, y'all. Like, I remember we talked before the season, especially Justin and I, we both took the over on the win. This has been a long, tough season. And I do appreciate everybody sticking with the show, helping it grow. We're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue growing the show, building it up. This offseason is going to be fascinating, so stick with us there. Gentlemen, as always, you are most appreciated. Your insight is incredible, and people always making really, really kind comments when I'm able to get you guys on because of the way you look at the game and the way you speak so eloquently about it. They mostly don't make any comments about me, but that's fine. I'm going to go drink some beer. I'm going to. Love you all so much, both the guests and the people in the comment section. Sorry I didn't get to everybody. On Wisconsin. We're going to talk again tomorrow, I'm sure. So on Wisconsin. Yeah.